Welcome in, everybody, to another MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. Tyler Pilgrim here alongside Henry Higuita and Sydney Hunt. Gentlemen, my fantasy week sucked.
Me too.
Tell me more. This is why I don't play fantasy soccer. For that very reason.
We have the league in our Discord, right? And we have the league and we have the head-to-head. And my head-to-head this week was against somebody who I don't think has updated their roster since week 1.
Yeah.
This is my second loss.
Wow.
I lost by 2 points. I had 3 players. To be fair, I didn't spend a lot of time researching stuff.
Yeah.
But I had 3 players on my starting lineup that didn't play.
So do we not need to come to you for MLS fantasy?
Absolutely not.
Expertise?
No.
What about you, Henry? Should we come to you? Can we come to you for it?
I didn't really do too well either. I lost my head-to-head. It wasn't because any players didn't play. It's because some of the players that I had just kind of tanked. I was expecting some different stuff. I definitely, Latte Lot. I've had him for the past few. And actually, my team's named after Latte Lot. So I was expecting him to continue bagging goals. And then obviously, like on the Atlanta side, that didn't happen. And then a few others, it just kind of tanked for me. So yeah, it was not great.
Latte Lot kind of not denied, but not given the opportunity, guys, to take a penalty during Atlanta United versus FC Dallas on Saturday. So
I think you should get fantasy points for earning a penalty.
Maybe in the future.
I think you used to at one point, but
I thought you did too. But
it's that way.
Or maybe I dreamed it.
Maybe.
So frustrating. But yeah. I don't know. I was quite irritated after this weekend, but
yeah,
whatever. Fantasy has no bearing on real life soccer, and we're here to talk about real life soccer.
You know who did have a good fantasy game?
Picked some guy named Josef Martinez, and you're a fantasy team. You're having a good day.
So
Tom, get the candle.
Right.
For real.
Let me ask this real quick, and we'll get into it. Is it DC United just being terrible, or Josef Martinez, is he coming back? I feel like it's the question we need to ask.
I mean, that was vintage Josef all day. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters to a degree what team you're playing against, but you can't take that credit away from Josef. Those were good finishes. They were not easy. That was Josef Martinez at his finest.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 goals he scored, you just saw how complete of a forward he is because he displayed all the skills he needed. The first one, he headed it to a teammate who then passed it back, and we were saying his legs are dead after that ACL. He's no more. Well, he had the pace to get onto that ball in that space and then finish 1-on-1. And then the other 2 goals, I mean, just being smart. Especially like just finding the space in and around the box and being able to then finish the way he does. That last goal, though, was definitely the best one because of that little cheeky little chip. Yep. That was awesome. But man, I think it's a combination of 2 things. Because look, DC, I think, is a bit of a mess. When one of your DPs is playing for another Eastern Conference team, that kind of sets the tone, I think. And it's not. It's not even the only thing. They just looks like a total mess in that game. And Christian Benteke rightfully kind of frustrated because he wasn't really getting any help from really anyone. And it's a frustrating, a disappointing result in such a historic game because this was, the 30-year anniversary of the first game in MLS history. It was supposed to be the rematch. 2 of the OG clubs who found success early in this league's history. And it wasn't exactly that way. So credit to San Jose. Bruce Arena has assembled a very strong team and it's playing to Josef's strengths.
Yeah. We should caveat real quick on San Jose. I know what you're saying they're the OG, but of course a little MLS history lesson for those unaware. San Jose Clash were the original team in San Jose. San Jose lost the team, which is now the Houston Dynamo. San Jose got an expansion team, which is now the Earthquakes. But for all intents and purposes, this is, like you said, the 30th anniversary match of San Jose Clash versus DC United. But going back to Benteke, and you look at a player like him, who is the reigning Golden Boot leader on his Day can put the ball in the back of the net with regularity, possible MVP candidate if he played for a better team. What is with this team where you have Benteke and you still can't win matches? And he has every right to be frustrated. He's the star of this team. He expects better from this club. He expects to be in the playoff race after a few dismal seasons that this club has had, since he's been here. He's done his part. The rest of the team needs to do theirs. Henry, you mentioned Matthias Klick, now with Atlanta United, essentially taking up a DP slot still on DC's roster. So questions certainly need to be asked, not just of Troy Lacine. I feel like the clock's ticking on him. It feels like he'll last the week until next weekend at least. Questions need to be asked, though, of Ali McKay, their general manager. Ownership. How long can this keep going on? This is a DC team. Again, one of the OG clubs, one of the clubs that has played ever since MLS started 30 years ago this past Saturday. They were a shell of their former selves. This was a team that was one of the top clubs in MLS, winning trophies, attractive football, attracted fans from all over the area. Now, nowhere near. So I think questions definitely being asked in the nation's capital after just a horrific loss to San Jose. So I can question this real quick. Is this a reflection on how good San Jose can be, or is it a reflection of how bad DC are right now? I'm interested. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's both for sure, because we've said it since the preseason, right? San Jose was going to be a team that they were going to be entertaining one way or the other.
Yeah,
they were good. It was going to be fun because you had Josef, and guys scoring goals. It was going to be kind of crazy. And if they weren't good, then the amount of drama that was going to come out of that locker room would be, a documentary in itself.
So the island of misfit toys to some extent.
100%. So, but I mean, I think DC, to your point, like we talk about coaches on the hot seat on this show fairly often, it seems like.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think DC is one of those where it's not just the coach, that it's almost a cultural problem from top to bottom at this point. It is like Sporting Kansas City. Peter Vermees just got fired. We're going to talk about everything with SKC in a little bit, but SKC is still a team that has a draw, right? Like they still bring in fans. They still have a very dedicated fan base. A lot of the people, and we've talked to DC fans and DC, journalists and stuff, there's just a lot of apathy about that team and has been for a while, and yeah, you bring in guys like Klick and of course Benteke to, kind of get the vibe up a little bit. But then for Benteke, a striker is only as good as the service, and he's got nobody around him to help. And they're just kind of, this is going to sound harsh, but they're failing in every aspect of being a soccer club right now. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but like it's rough over there. And I think you have a coach that's in his situation. I mean, yeah, he's got to do better, but there are a lot more problems in that club. SKC, you get the right coach and you're right back on the rebound again.
Right.
I think you have the support there. Even up in Canada, who are we talking about a couple of weeks ago? Like
Montreal.
Now, the ownership there, maybe that's kind of the same story as DC, but I still think like Montreal has got a little bit more of a leg to stand on than DC United does right now.
I mean, I look at this DC roster, and with the exception of Benteke at striker, I can't really see a player who would be considered within the top 10 of their position in the league.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the state of the roster as a whole. Benteke is kind of the thread holding this team. I mean, look, he won the Golden Boot last year, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened since like 2013 in the league.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it reminds me a little bit, and I know, maybe it's an unfair comparison, but when Atlanta had Thiago Almada and Yorgos Giacomakis, and it's these two spectacular players on this team that, for the most part, is pretty average. Other than that, especially in that 20 2024, the beginning of 2024. And yeah, there's other factors to it, but I'm basically saying, Thiago Almada is a fantastic player, very talented. He's going in Europe and he's showing that he has the stuff. But I think with the version of Atlanta United that he had, he was kind of dealt a raw hand because a lot of the time he had to do things himself. He had to play hero ball.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that's going on with Benteke right now. It has to be him or who else is going to do it.
Yeah. And quickly on DC's roster, you just talked about Henry. You look at the roster, Benteke is their only full DP, and again, Cleek taking up a DP slot. So that's a massive, massive thing that DC need to figure out. But you look at their 10 players, and like you said, no player you can look at can really be considered a star in MLS. I mean, no disrespect to Aaron Herrera, but why is he on a TAM contract? I get that guys like David Schnegg and Joao Peglo overseas players on TAM contracts, but you got some of these players you're giving TAM contracts to. Why? And now you're in the situation where you're paying Mateus Cleek a bunch of his salary, essentially paying for 1.5 DPs. You have 2 U22 players. One, Kim Jun Hong, is your keeper that you're hoping to get big things out of, and he lets in 6 goals. I mean, obviously, you look at the defense as well, but still. But you look at Benteke, his contract runs out 2025. He has an option for next year, right? The way things are going, he's going to want out like at the first opportunity. Kristen Fletcher on loan to Forest, I believe, at this point. I don't think he'll want back at DC United, to be honest with you. I could be getting that reversed. But this is not a good team right now from a cultural standpoint, and a lot needs to change in DC United.
Yeah.
In the front office, not just in the coaching staff, not just in the technical area, but the front office as well.
And that's why I say it's top to bottom. This is not something that a new coach is going to fix. This is not at all something a new coach is. They need a complete vibe check overall. They're in a rough position. I got to ask, while we're on the topic of this particular game, I got to ask the clickbaity question.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to do it. Josef Martinez. Do you take him back at Atlanta?
No. I mean, I feel like that ship sailed to some extent. And Henry, I see you're making a face kind of there, but I don't know. I think you can get more production from a younger player, a more productive player. I think Latte Lot at this point is a viable option, and he's shown his quality for Atlanta United thus far, just through 7 matches. I feel like should have more than what he's had right now, but I feel like he'll be in the Golden Boot race if he can stay healthy. I understand Josef means a lot, obviously, to Atlanta United and their history and their success, especially in 2017 and 2018. But at this point, I don't know, maybe the ship's kind of sailed in that regard. Henry, what do you think? Agree, disagree?
I mean, look, inevitably when I was watching that game, I kind of had the nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's him again, right? And maybe we're a little hasty to see him out the door and kind of call it game. Though I think at that time the move was the best thing for both him and the club at the state of things. Yeah. But I kept asking myself this one question, right? Would I rather have him over Latte Lot right now? And the answer to that for me is no.
No, absolutely not.
I would rather have Latte Lot if it has to be between him and Latte Lot, because presumably you have to start one.
More clickbaity question though to add on to that, even though you have Miggy here.
And I'm about to get to that.
Okay.
Look, this team, the way it's set up right now, there's not really a place to play him. But if you shift to like a diamond 4-4-2, some sort of duo striker setup, and you can bring, he's not a DP at San Jose, I don't think. In theory, he's max TAM. In theory, you could bring him without sacrificing the DP slot and have a front 2 of him and Latte Lot, and Miggy's there. And I think Miggy being there actually would help him I think, a little bit more mentally because, they got along really, really well. They're great friends. You bring back the little, the fusion celebration thing, and maybe you're cooking. Maybe like if he's not a DP, I would take it. It's just a matter of, can the culture of this club change enough to where you won't have the problems that you had with him before?
Yeah.
That's the thing now. Is it's the culture around the club. Are the
Exactly.
players going to respond? Are they going to play for the badge? There was some talk of that today on socials, of maybe that's the major problem with the team. And I mentioned with y'all, like, maybe there were some players in training who were a little bit casual about things, and Ronnie Dyla had to get on them about it. So look, I think that has to change for him to be happy here. But
Yeah.
I think he could be open to it. I mean, he said how much he loves the city. I think his main problems with the club have since departed.
Yeah.
So
Plural.
he'd be coming to a kind of a clean slate. Maybe he wants to retire here because this is where he got most of the goals, most of his 120 MLS goals.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's nostalgia. And I see in the comments like Dylan saying no. Now, I don't agree with all of this, but he said no because we're already in danger of ruining the Almiron memories. We're not, man. I don't feel like we're even close to that. Like, Almiron's doing his thing. This team's going to figure it out. I really feel that way, my opinion. But I do agree that, like, it's not a fit right now.
Right.
I mean, it'd be cool. It would be cool to see Miggy and Joseph back playing together again in Atlanta, not anywhere else. But I mean, that's a bridge that it's still smoking. Maybe not burned down, but it's still
Right.
smoking.
Yeah, it's got to be the right situation, like you
Yeah.
said.
So we're going to jump. Well, actually, no, we're going to stay in the West. But really quick, got to give a quick shout out to our good friends over at Sweetwater Brewery. Y'all visit sweetwaterbrew.com to go check out their line of mostly IPAs, but especially the Rowdy Peach IPA, which is brewed obviously for Atlanta United and Atlanta United fans. And also, y'all check out the website for more info on 420 Fest, which is coming up rapidly within like next week and a half. So, yeah, sweetwaterbrew.com. And then also go visit scribesandspikes.com for all your Atlanta United news, opinion, analysis, articles that make Henry's head swell to twice its size.
Yeah.
What could you ever mean?
Right.
Real
quick on Sweetwater, I had the
Yeah.
ranch water the other day. I liked it.
Yeah,
Had a little bit of it, but
it's
I
solid.
enjoyed it. Yeah,
It's
it
solid.
is. See you, Sweetwater. Shout out to them as always.
Yeah. I'm a big fan just of the OG 420, but the G13 is a contender for sure. I don't know that you would like G13, Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But
We'll see.
everybody has their own taste.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
all right. San Diego and Seattle Sounders. There's a lot of goals out west this weekend.
There was. Seattle didn't score any of them.
No, they didn't. San Diego scored 3 of them. But here's the question. This was kind of one that I posed in our notes. Sydney, I'll start with you. Is San Diego playing the most complete football in MLS right now?
I mean, I wouldn't have an argument for a whole lot of other teams at this point because you look at what they're doing. Not only are they scoring goals, I mean, they scored 13 goals so far. They've let in only 6. And when you look at that, the balance of that speaks to both sides of the pitch doing well. CJ Dos Santos, they brought him in to be their keeper, and so far he's had a terrific season. Not had much work to do, only letting in the 6 goals. But look at how they're doing defensively. Chico Lozano coming back, scoring against not San Diego, scoring against Seattle. So you have him back in the mix after being out. You, of course, have Andre Stryer. He's scoring goals. Anibal Godoy, veteran player in MLS, scoring. Yeah, I mentioned Dryer. He didn't score against Seattle, but he is a viable option, one of the most viable options.
He's the key to that team, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But you look at the stats. You look at how San Diego won, right? Seattle had 4 shots on goal. Well, both teams had 4 shots on goal. and Dos Santos obviously ending with 4 saves. So you look at the goals, the XGs, it's 1.3 and 1.3. So if you look at those stats alone, it was relatively even. Maybe Seattle has a little bit more of the play, and part of it probably is because they're having to chase right away because they conceded in the second minute. But San Diego, and to your point, Tyler, I think you can definitely make a case for them being probably one of the most complete teams in MLS at this point. It's a shout out to Mikey Varas, shout out to Jay Heaps, or not Jay Heaps. What is his name?
Oh, the
other
throwback.
Heaps guy, the other Heaps guy, Tyler Heaps.
Yep.
Tyler Heaps, Mr. Lindsey Horan. Shout out to him for putting together a solid roster out there in San Diego and making them competitive right out of the gate, because that's a big question. They brought in Chucky Lozano, they brought in Andres Dreyer. Those were your kind of two main players that you're going to lean on. They brought in a lot of veteran players like Godoy, who I just mentioned, and so far so good in MLS for them in year one. And they keep winning, they keep scoring goals, and they keep turning heads. And how far can they go? How far can this wave, no pun intended, take them as the season goes on for San Diego? So been very impressed with them. Henry, what do you think? Most complete team in MLS at this point?
I mean, there are a few others that could be said, part of that argument. San Diego plays some of the most fun soccer in the league right now, and that is a huge credit for an expansion team. Look, Anders Dreyer is doing fantastic. He's obviously kind of the linchpin of this team.
Yeah.
With Chucky Lozano only now coming back from his injury, he went out in the second game of the season, and he made his return in the last game. And then in this game, he had his start, and he participated in all 3 goals, which kind of shows you, okay, if this San Diego side was so potent in attack without him, oh boy, just wait for him to keep, keep getting steam there. So no, I think with that, I would have to say that they are one of the more complete teams right now. I mean, who else would be in that conversation?
Miami, you got to.
I would say Miami would be one of the top contenders, because they also have a very fun style of soccer when it works. This week it wasn't exactly what they wanted, but when it works the way we've seen it work before in this season, it's some fun soccer. Vancouver is also a pretty darn good team right now, a very well-balanced team, and it shows, because they're at top of the Supporter Shield right now.
I know, that's crazy. They're not my dark horse team. Right? Gandalf the White coming over the top of the hill. This is crazy.
So yeah, I mean, look, if you ask me, it has to be one of those 3. But for me, San Diego just plays such fun soccer for a team that's just now entering the league, and I think they still have a DP slot open. That blows my mind that they have this level of production, this level of success early on, and they can still add a major piece in the summer.
Holding out for De Bruyne. More on that in a little bit, I think.
Or not.
Or not. We'll see.
One of the players with San Diego I want to highlight is one of the, basing this on FOTMob, but also just the eye test. One of the higher rated players in general, but especially midfielder, is Jeppe Verskov, who, if you look at his defensive stats, I mean, the stats in general through 6 games have been very impressive, but you look at his defensive stats, the dude is in like the top 70th percentile in the entire league in just about everything. He's got a goal to his name. He's got a couple of shots. So like the fact that one of your midfielders is giving you something more than just the tempo control, the defense, the ball progression, whatever else, like well-rounded. And, I mean, is he going to stay in the league very long? I mean, he's 32, so I don't know.
Right.
I mean, San Diego might be where he retires. I have no idea. But I think
places to retire.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you look at the way that they've started this season, and you look at a player like him. I think sometimes we've said it before. whether it's on here or in the Atlanta shows. Like your midfielders, if you're talking about them, it's either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
And Jepe is one of those guys that there's not much bad to say about the way that he's playing. And so, yeah, to your point, both of y'all, like you have a team that had one of their very first signings, or was he the very first, go down with an injury in the second game, missed a couple, comes back, and they're right back at it, but they didn't really skip a beat. They've won 3 of the last 5, unbeaten in 4 of the last 5. Like it's been impressive. So I just give it a quick shout out to him, man. Like now Seattle might come and shut everybody up after they rise from the dead in like September, but San Diego is fun right now. It's enjoyable.
That's my next question. Are the Sounders bad? Are they just bad this year?
I'm never going to say that.
Is Atlanta United bad this year?
Never going to say it.
It's only 6 games in. They have plenty of time to turn it around, the Sounders too. But no, bad loss in a way for the Sounders. Or 7. But no, a bad loss away for the Sounders. Now 1-3-3, just 1 win for their season. And we kind of joke about the Sounders, but you don't want to get too far behind the 8 ball before it gets too late into the season. So we'll see if things turn around for Seattle. But another loss and a bad loss in a match where again they tested CJ Dos Santos, going to put anything past him. How do they bounce back against Dallas coming up?
I think I'm always, and I don't want this to be a cop out, but I'm always going to go back to Seattle. Just has this weird, like, gift, knack, whatever you want to call it. Like they're called the Zombie Sounders for a reason. But to your point, I mean, you're sitting in 12th in the West right now. They're still, packing out. Not say packing out. They're still very high in attendance, week in and week out, and their support is there. I think fans have kind of come to the realization that maybe they just are a second half of the season team, and that's fine. But you don't, like you said, you don't want to get way too far behind the 8 ball. Don't make it harder than you need to. And I think from a fan perspective, it is a little disappointing because you think about the moves that they did make in the offseason to bring in attackers and, maybe just try to add a little bit of life to an otherwise like very disciplined, but somewhat mundane Seattle side. Yeah. And that hasn't really happened yet. You haven't really seen that pay off.
Yeah.
For my little bit, I'm going to add, you need to have a conversation about Pedro de la Vega because you brought him in. I believe he's a young DP. He's some kind of DP, but you brought him in, I believe last season. The plan was for him to kind of, replace Nico Ladero as well as you can replace a player who is so good, so consistent, so just top level for this team. And he has not really gone anywhere near living up to that expectation. And there's sometimes in the games where I feel like he kind of feels like he's the only one playing. He thinks he's the only one playing. He kind of holds onto the ball a little bit too much, goes a little hero ball. And I think that screws up the plan a little bit when this team is trying to go on the attack and make stuff happen. I mean, he's on the bench right now. And that just about tells you when a DP is on the bench.
Yeah.
Just about tells you
not great.
It's not a good sign. And so that's one thing that you got to figure out. And then, I mean, the other thing would probably be kind of looking at that back line. You've conceded, I believe it's 11 goals in these 7 games. That's something you gotta look at too. And you got to start thinking, okay, are these players, do we need to make a change at our back line? Are they going to be able to keep up with this pace of play? Is Stephen Fry still an elite goalkeeper in MLS? That those are kind of some of the questions that you need to start asking because, sure, the goals, you need to score the goals, but also if you're leaving the door open at the back, then you got a problem all around. I think it's the opposite of San Diego. They're one of the more kind of balanced in a bad way.
Yeah,
because you're not really scoring and you're also you're letting them all in. So you gotta look at it kind of top to bottom. This team, for the offseason that it had and the players that it brought in, This roster should be doing better, and it probably will do better towards the end, like y'all said. But man, this is a crap start for them.
And real quick before we move on, you look at the defense. I mean, they were pretty good last year. Ymar, you had Jackson Reagan back there. Nuhu, Jackson Reagan certainly one of the elite center backs in MLS. Ymar, Nuhu, two very talented defenders at that back line, on that back line for Seattle. And then, of course, Fry, veteran keeper, one of the more decorated keepers in MLS right now. He's sort of the back end of his career. So certainly questions to be asked there. And is it something that you just have to snap out of, or do you need to start making some bigger changes for Seattle? I think Craig Weibel is going to be more patient than most because he understands, hey, this is what the Sounders do typically. There's normally, like we said, second half team. So interested to see what moves they make, if any, in the summer transfer window. They do have all three of their DP slots filled. De La Vega, can he kind of step out and be the player they hoped he could be when he signed? But yeah, Sounders, again, like you said, Henry, not a good start. And I feel like fans are going to be a little impatient, even though the front office could be patient on their end, as they typically are, I think. So that's the story with the Sounders in San Diego FC.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you say? But
yeah,
right up the West Coast. We mentioned them already. But Vancouver, I don't know, man. Like, what can you say about this freaking team?
I'm sorry, Tyler. It's Supporters Shield leader Vancouver Whitecaps.
Right. Sorry, I didn't put
the full name. Okay,
give them their flowers.
You need to give it to them early on.
Vancouver Whitecaps, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
2-0.
That's a sentence I thought I'd never hear.
Yeah, dude, for real. It's crazy. Yeah. But hey, man, kudos to them. Like they're playing again. Like if San Diego is playing the really fun soccer, Vancouver is playing practical soccer, and they're getting it done.
Yeah,
keeping clean sheets, and they're doing all this while in Champions Cup, which we're going to talk about in a second. But I mean, 2-0 over Colorado, and this is a Colorado team that I think defensively has been pretty solid, even if it's just because of their goalkeeper at times, who some man named Stefan has decided to maybe have a little bit of a comeback arc. But I mean, Vancouver's just playing well. I don't know what else to say. Like they dominated the game. Now, I mean, the possession was literally 50-50, but they just felt like they were on the front foot and they controlled the game. My word of the week, and you'll hear it a lot, is tempo, especially on the Atlanta show. Right. But they control the game, and I think they do a good job of knowing when to attack and take their chances and when to kind of settle back and absorb pressure. And it's discipline. You gotta appreciate it, where the fun soccer, the attacking soccer is great. I love watching it, but there's something really special about watching a disciplined soccer team do what disciplined soccer teams do, which is frustrate other teams and control the game.
Yeah, if you look at Jordan Mihailovic, week after he gets player of the match day, only 2 shots, none on target, and a XG of 0.09. So that kind of tells you the story of how things went for Colorado with no shots on goal for the entire night.
Only 7 shots total.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. MLSsoccer.com has them at 9. I'm sure you're seeing 7, but FOMOB said 7. But either way, no shots on target. Takahoa, I should say, not tested at all really in net for Vancouver. Pretty much had a easy day for a day that I'm sure he would like plenty more this season. But Vancouver, this is a team, it raises the team whether they can stay at the top of the Supporters Shield standings. I'm sure, again, none of us expected to be saying Supporters Shield leading Vancouver Whitecaps at any point this season, let alone the first week. But here they are, 7 matches in, guys, still atop the standings. Credit to Sorensen, their new head coach, for the work he's putting in. Vancouver, guys, 5 goals allowed all season. So another clean sheet to add to the total on Saturday. And that puts them at, I'm trying to figure out, 1, 2, 3-4 already in 7 matches, and 4 of their past 5 have been clean sheets. So that speaks to the defensive work that Vancouver is putting in at this point in time. You have Ryan White, who obviously can score. And guys, we haven't mentioned Ryan Gauld. Ryan Gauld has been hurt, and Vancouver is still winning games. Imagine when he gets back on the pitch, fully fit, and he and White can continue that partnership that they've enjoyed over the past several years. This is a Vancouver team that's trending well right now, and as soon as Gauld gets back, guys, it's going to be trending even further up, I feel.
And key to this Vancouver team's success is their midfield. We talk about midfields that can not just win the ball back, but that can effectively move it forward, that can help you build out. And that is something that this midfield does very, very well. Players like Pedro Vite with a goal, 2 assists this season, Andres Cubas with an assist. They're coming into some of their best moments in their careers. And this is awesome. This is great for Vancouver. And again, they're doing this without Ryan Gauld. Like, you need these players who are normally take a more defensive posture to kind of take up some of that creativity that is missing from the Scottish Messi is his nickname.
Is that what they're still calling him?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But yeah, they've had to make up for that production, both in MLS and in CONCACAF Champions Cup, which, by the way, they haven't faced exactly pushovers. I mean, they just had to go and beat Monterrey in Mexico, or will tie them because I believe it was 2-2. But, go to Mexico and score goals, and they did that. And now they're going to have to do the same thing this week. And I still think Ryan Gould's going to be out for that one. So, no, it's great when you can rely on your midfield the way that they can. And again, a huge shout out to Pedro Vite, because every time I see this guy, he can make magic with the ball. The guy is so good at playing these through balls, at finding just the space to play his teammates in the final third. This is a player that would be one of the better midfields on really most MLS teams.
Yeah. And you mentioned those 2 names, guys. They're not superstars. Pedro Vite is not a superstar in MLS. Andres Cubas is not a superstar in MLS, but they're putting in strong shifts, Henry, as you talked about. And again, that just speaks to Sorensen and the work he's done since coming into this team to make this team what it is right now. Looks like, even without Gauld, for now, a legitimate contender in MLS and for the Shield. And that's in the midst of a lot of distraction off the field about the ownership situation that's still not resolved. Who will come in and purchase the Vancouver Whitecaps? Is it Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, whatever? We'll see. But that's still that's still
the bricks only going up now.
Exactly. That's still kind of hanging over there at this point. So they're really making things happen. The Whitecaps are so far this season. Now, we mentioned they take on Pumas in Champions Cup, trailing a 0-0 away goals. Or beg your pardon, it's 1-1. Pumas, of course, scored at BC Place. Are they going to be able to go down to Mexico City and overturn that deficit? You just need one, right? Just need a goal. Can they do it?
I mean, if they can do it in Monterrey, I think. I mean, this is not to take anything away from either team, but Monterrey, I mean, anywhere in Mexico is historically a very frustrating and hostile place to play. But you did it once. You can do it again. And I mean, the way that game ended, the first leg, that's a little bit of a dagger, because you think, all right, man, we're keeping them to a clean sheet. We got the goal. We didn't let them get the away goal in the 87th minute. They equalize. That sucks. But they come out of that. They handle business in MLS, keep a clean sheet again, and now all eyes are turned towards Mexico. And I mean, I think they can do it. I really do. I think they're playing enough, again, disciplined, fundamental soccer that can frustrate any team in the world. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. So if they can keep their wits about them, keep their emotions in check, which they've done a very good job of so far, I think they have a chance of knocking out Pumas as well. And then you're having a whole different conversation about supporter shield leaders, Vancouver Whitecaps. wild, man.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
I mean, the way I see it, the away goal doesn't change a whole lot for Vancouver. You're going into Mexico to win. You're going to win either way.
Yep.
Would you have wanted to go into the game with a 1-goal advantage? Of course, but you got to go get the job done now, and you've done it before in Mexico. You can do it again. And even if you don't have Ryan Gauld, I mean, this team has showed that they can win, that they can score without him. So I think they have a chance. Obviously, I still think Pumas is the favorite going into this one, but I wouldn't count the Caps out.
Especially not now.
Right.
I mean,
they have nothing to lose.
No.
And maybe that's a benefit to them. They have nothing to lose. If they fall to Pumas, the conversation is going to be, yes, Pumas. We knew it was going to happen. If they beat them, the conversation is going to be, could this team make a deeper run?
Yeah.
Could they make it to the final legitimately? So I feel like it benefits right now. I feel like it benefits sort of Vancouver from a mentality standpoint. Whether they could get it does another story, but I feel like their mentality is really sharp, at least going into Mexico City, the second leg.
Yeah. All right. Well, another team that also is dealing with some Champions Cup stuff. We'll talk about the MLS side of it first, but Miami and Toronto 1-1 draw. Right.
Just like we thought.
Yeah, just how they
just like we thought.
I don't have a whole lot in terms of like analysis on this game because it was a weird game, right? Like you're not expecting this to be a 1-1 draw, but the Bernadeschi goal, that was insane. that was insane.
Now, question, was it insane because of his skill to dribble around and get the shot off, or was it insane because of Miami's terrible defending?
Well, I mean, Miami's terrible defending is kind of par for the course, I think. At this point. But the way that was like old school,
vintage,
vintage Bernadette. Like, and it's one of those things where I mean, you might try it 100 times and get it right once, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter it's 1-1 draw.
Yeah,
but it looked pretty.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch, but I mean, as far as like the game itself, like you expected Miami to go in there and absolutely destroy Toronto. It didn't happen.
Yeah. So here's the question: does this look more poorly on Miami that they couldn't really put a poor TFC side to the sword, or does this look better for TFC and that they were able to come out of Fort Lauderdale with a point? I say yes to both. If you're Miami, you have to beat whoever's on your schedule. If this is a TFC side, they should have beaten pretty handily, and no disrespect to TFC. They aren't just a very good team at this point. But if you're into Miami, you have to be ruining an opportunity missed majorly, because now you're looking up at Miami in the Eastern Conference standings, albeit with one fewer match played. And you, of course, have plenty of the season to go to catch up, but you have to beat whoever's on your schedule. If you're Miami, you don't want to look back on the end of the season and say, my gosh, if we had won this game, we'd have won the Shield or things like that. It could still happen, but it's one of those games where you have to take advantage, especially if you're at home and looking to face what's an inferior opponent. You have to put them to the sword. You have to take your chances. And this was majority, even with Champions Cup coming up later this week, majority a first choice lineup for Miami. Messi started, Suarez started, Alba started, I believe. Busquets started. So it was a really no excuses, I would say, for Miami to come out of this with fewer than 3 points. And we mentioned earlier, is this the most complete team in MLS? Results like this kind of make you question, are they really as good as some are making them out to be? Because when they're clicking, right? And again, if you look back, this is not really a terrible result, but it's not a great result if you're Miami. If you're TFC, you're taking this every day of the week, right? You're going back at least with a point and a lot of optimism moving on later on in your season, because you need something, right? You need a rallying point to turn the season around. It's a long way to go, even though they're still at the bottom of the table almost with just the 3 points. You at least can peg your season on something and say, hey, we at least came out of here with a point. Let's take this. Let's use this as a springboard to help us get further and further up the table. There's still plenty of the season to go, right? But if you're TFC, you have to love this result. Absolutely. Can you build on it? It's the next step. Can you get more performances out of Bernadeschi that he had on Sunday night? Is the big question.
Now, I think for Miami, this is a bad result for them. Look, this is a team, a Toronto side that was and still is at the bottom or near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They are a team that are coming into your house, and quality-wise, Miami is much better than Toronto.
Yeah.
And that they should have won that game. Not even just like 2-1 or 1-0. This should have been like a 4-0 game. Looking at the stats, 22 shots to 13. 9 shots on target from Miami versus 4 from Toronto. Miami was creating tons of chances. I was watching this game, and there were some of these chances that I was like, what is going on with these guys today? Because they were like Suarez at the back post, a goal that he has scored at least 100 times in his career, and he doesn't get it, right? You have several other opportunities to kind of put this game away, and Miami doesn't take them. And I think they've hit a little bit of a rut, I think, and it started with the midweek loss to LAFC in Champions Cup. I didn't watch that game, but it was kind of disappointing, and they were frustrated, like visibly frustrated. I don't know if y'all saw like the videos on social media of Messi just walking out of there, just kind of mad.
Yeah.
And his celebration on the goal, because he did score Miami's goal in this Toronto game. I think it said it all. Like he's been meaning to kind of release some of that frustration. I think part of the frustration of, first of all, seeing the team kind of start this little slip that you kind of want to nip in the bud as soon as possible for, the better of Miami's season, for the benefit of their CONCACAF Champions Cup run, which, they need to get a good result, a win at home to kind of salvage. But also, I think it has to do with the fact that he has missed a lot of time to start the season off due to injuries. And of course, he's still managed to find a way to make an impact. But, as the captain, as the competitor that he is, I think he just feels that he has that kind of added responsibility to be there for his team. So I think for this Miami side, it's not – this is a game that you really wanted the 3 points out of, and this is a draw that really, really feels like a loss.
Feels like a loss.
But, I mean, I guess it could be worse. Now you really, really, really have to turn it around in CONCACAF Champions Cup in the return leg against LAFC this midweek, because if not, then I think the morale starts to go down, and then you start to see, okay, is this Inter Miami team, was this start really just a hot series of, okay, we're on one, and then we trip, and then it all goes out the window? Or is it something that they can get back? This is just a little roadblock. This is just a minor inconvenience.
Right.
But they're going to get right back on track. I think that's going to show the real mettle of this Inter Miami side.
I don't think you can, like, it's a frustrating result for Miami. LAFC, it happens, right? And we talked about it last week. LAFC was coming off a game where they really wanted to prove something in Champions Cup. They were frustrated after last week's MLS game. So they knew what they were coming into. I don't think this is going to have any real effect on Miami's season at the end of the day. I think the main concern, if I were a Miami fan, would just be you have a group of guys who, from the moment that they joined MLS, there were questions about, can you play at this age as many games as you're going to play? And you
Right.
saw things kind of taper off a little bit last year. We saw what happened in the playoffs with Atlanta. Is that due to, the age and the fitness levels and things like that? Because, I mean, look, you can go out there and run every day and be in the best shape of your life, but at some point the age does become a factor. So I would be curious, 12 weeks from now, however Champions Cup goes, do we see maybe a little bit of a dip now and then a rebound when they're not having such fixture congestion? I don't know. But again, I mean, yeah, Toronto takes this one. Look, they're happy.
Yeah.
Miami's frustrated, and they have a right to be, because I mean, to your point, all y'all's points, like, yeah, you should have won this game like 3-4-1. I mean, give the one to Toronto because it was a good goal.
Right. Right.
But you should have won this game. But is it a season defining game? No, I don't think so. I mean, now we'll come back in a couple of weeks and revisit this question, but
Yeah.
this is a group of guys that, for all I just said about the fitness and things like that, they've been down before, and they're professionals, best in the world. They can come out of it, and they can also elevate those young guys, the young talented guys that are kind of also doing a lot of the legwork, to help them have that mentality to not get down in the dumps about a silly game like this.
Now, they have Champions Cup coming up against LAFC. They're up a 0-0, head up down a 0-0, head at home. Very easy to turn that deficit.
Yeah.
Very easy to really take their frustrations out on LAFC side that haven't been the most convincing guys this season. I think they do it. I mean, 1-0 is absolutely a drop in the bucket considering the quality they have. And I think they're able to overturn that deficit and really put LAFC to the sword. And I think they will. I think the events of Sunday are going to really wear on them. What happened in the first leg at BMO is going to really wear on them. They're going to come out on fire with a hair on fire against LAFC, down there at Chase Stadium, and really look to put the tie away like within the first 30 minutes or so. And I think they will do it. I think Miami just has the quality to do it where LAFC does not. LAFC, I think if they get a goal early to make it 2-0, plus the away goal, I think that really forces Miami to chase. I don't think they'll be out of it at that point, but I think the onus is on Miami to get on the scoreboard first and really sink their teeth into LAFC and play their way to the semifinal.
Let me say this real quick, and then Henry, you jump in. But these teams in this, take what you want out of historical data, head-to-heads. These teams have played 4 times, including this first leg of the Champions Cup this year. LAFC's won 3, Miami's won 1. And the one that they won was back in 2023. So,
wow.
Take that for what it's worth, which, in my opinion, head-to-heads aren't worth much. But some people put a lot of, stuff into them. So, and they've all been like pretty good games. So,
yeah.
But I to your point, I'll say this. I'll finish with this, and then Henry. They've been so up and down this season. LAFC has. Miami at home, a little pissed off.
Yeah.
I find it hard to bet against Miami in this one.
Right. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to add. On top of that game, for me, Miami is the favorite going into that home leg. And look, it's an LAFC side that is almost unrecognizable from the one that we've grown used to over the past 5-6 seasons. Yeah, I mean, an LAFC side that's lost 4 of its last 5 games, which it's shocking. But I do think that Miami overturned that result. And I don't know. I mean, LAFC is a team that we have to kind of think about and see what's their future going to look like this season, right? What's going to happen there? how much of it is on Steve Cherundolo? How much of it is on, the roster kind of changing a little bit over these years, and then kind of evaluate what will happen to this LAFC side. But one thing, going back to Miami, and I want to talk about it because Gray kind of brought that up. Inter Miami reportedly now owners of Kevin De Bruyne's discovery rights, and they're preparing an offer for him this summer. That's huge.
With what DP spot?
That's the other question. The 3 DP slots are occupied. And so how would they go about doing this? Is it would they go after his discovery rights if they couldn't? Right?
Maybe NYCFC makes them an offer they can't refuse. They'd love to open that stadium in 2026 or 2027 with De Bruyne on that team.
I'm gonna be so pissed off if I have to watch Kevin De Bruyne, who I really like, play soccer on a freaking baseball field for any time.
Well, by the time he gets here, shouldn't their stadium be almost done?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 2027, actually. Never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 27. Maybe
Home
put him
run De Bruyne.
Keep him on loan into Man City or something like that, and then bring him over. Or bring him over on loan to NYCFC, whatever. I don't know.
Is it NYCFC, LAFC, DC United? No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like he would put a pretty long list of teams he wouldn't want to go to. I think DC United is one of those teams.
Sporting Kansas City, here I come.
Right. I feel like he goes to Sporting Kansas City.
With the Ronaldo discovery rights in SKC.
I don't want to beat the dead horse because and really good in the chat. Like Colonel mentioned, I think they'll bring him in as a non-DP, to play with Messi, blah, blah, blah. And then Gray mentioning, because he's making $21 million a year. They could always defer, some of his payments until they can free up a spot, or they can just invent a free spot out of nowhere because that tends to kind of happen. I'm being a little
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Breaking teams that rhyme with Schminter, Miami get a 4th DP spot.
Look, I would love to see Kevin De Bruyne. I would be more. This is a hot take, I think.
Yeah.
I would be more excited about seeing Kevin De Bruyne in MLS than I was about Lionel Messi coming to MLS.
No,
100%.
No, shut up, Tyler.
No.
Shut up, Tyler.
100%.
No chance.
It's my opinion. You can't tell me no chance.
It's your opinion.
Your opinion's wrong.
Okay. No, I'm more excited if it happens. I'd be more excited about that. I mean, look, Lionel Messi coming here was massive. It was 100%. It was massive.
I think no one's going to pack the stadium for Kevin De Bruyne. Let's just
but to be fair,
are we going to see De
Bruyne
jerseys or Messi
right now either?
Right.
What, you said what?
Are we going to see De Bruyne jerseys or Messi jerseys?
Yeah.
Better be De Bruyne jerseys.
Right.
Sure.
We'll see him in Atlanta this summer, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
Huge maybe.
Yeah, if you're a De Bruyne fan and he ends up making a move in the summer, right when Club World Cup comes to Atlanta, whatever. Right. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see how that saga plays out. I'm sure that's going to be all over the news over the next few weeks. But I did mention Sporting Kansas City slightly in a jerk way.
Who does not have Kevin De Bruyne's discovery rights?
No, it doesn't have those.
Does have a win finally.
They've broken free from Peter Vermees's shackles. I've just been wanting to say that.
That sounds bad though.
It does. Look, we talked about it last week. Vermees, legend. Nothing against the guy. They needed a change. This was my Sweetwater match to watch from last week because I wanted to see like the new coach bump, and then St. Louis has been playing very solid defensive soccer, and then suddenly St. Louis didn't play solid defensive soccer, and Sporting Kansas City won a game.
Right?
I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah. And the derby too.
Yeah.
2-0. And, we talk about the new coach bump and all of that, and Jovic scoring both goals for Sporting Kansas City. So if you're a Sporting Kansas City fan you'll be glad to see him get things going, Joveljic, because he's a player that you're going to peg most of your attacking hopes on in 2025 and beyond. That's why we brought him in, to score goals. And he did that twice against St. Louis. He has now 4 for the season. So maybe he's starting to put things together just a little bit. But as he gathers confidence, and we mentioned Vermees needed to turn the pace and the new coach bump and all that. But if you look at, Joveljic, if he can get things going, this could be a really tough Sporting Kansas City side to watch over these next few weeks, I think. I mean, I wouldn't bet against them. You have to get things going, especially with Kerry Zavagnin as their interim head coach, maybe looking to make his imprint. And again, like we said last week, maybe this is a job interview for him too.
It's always a chance for him to hold on to the job. Anytime an interim manager takes over, they have the chance to convince, the ownership that he is the right guy. I mean, Brian Schmetzer did it. Why can't he do it? We'll see. So he has a chance, but the question is this sustainable, or is this just a new coach bump?
Right.
Because again, this is the first time this team has played a game without Peter Vermees as its head coach in 17 years. 2008.
That's insane.
Was the last time.
That's insane.
That Peter Vermees, this is crazy. This is when Iron Man, the first movie, was released.
I know.
Dude, get out of here. Is that when you were born?
This is when the MCU started. Look where we are now. It's all downhill from here.
Right.
But no, it's a chance for a new start, and they've started off the right way. Like you said, some of these players have the chance to kind of have a resurgence to show that they still have the quality, that they can come together and make something really cool happen. I still think that SKC has the draw to be one of the more interesting teams in this league. They have a very devoted fan base, and I mean, they have history. So we're going to see what happens. If they can sustain this kind of bump in momentum, if they can keep it going, they're a team to watch for sure.
Definitely agree.
Just got to show me a little bit more, though. I mean, I say a little bit. They got to show me a lot more. But to y'all's points, this could be a springboard. It's exciting. I think it's an exciting moment for the fans, right? Because it's sometimes change just for the sake of change can actually be kind of fun. Now, it needed to happen. It had to happen. Peter Vermees needed to kind of take a step back and let somebody else step in. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But, I think this is an opportunity where it's just as a fan, you're like, all right, cool. Something unpredictable is coming, and it might be what brings us back to the forefront to a degree. And then you have a game like this where you win 2-0 in a derby against a team that has been very stingy on defense. That's a confidence builder. So
yeah,
good for them.
Dark horse to make the playoffs at this point, or get back in the playoff race?
Well, let's hold our horses.
Maybe. Well, if
let's wait to see them actually okay, you've won one game. Keep it going, and then I'll be good.
Well, you know what? I'll give you this really quick to answer that question. In the West, right now you have, let's see, we're counting the 8th spots. You have LAFC, Salt Lake, St. Louis, Seattle, Houston Dynamo, Kansas City, and then the Galaxy at the bottom. It's hard to count out Seattle, as we've said. Right. Galaxy, I still contend that when they get healthy, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I'll give you Kansas City. We'll revisit this. Somebody take a receipt. I'll give you Kansas City in the play-in game.
Houston's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Yeah. St. Louis, I mean, you got to score some goals.
Yeah.
The defense is great, but you got to score some goals at some
4
point.
goals in 7 matches.
Yeah.
That's not good enough.
Yeah. And then Salt Lake, I don't know, man. They're all over the place. So that's a wild card if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Speaking of the Galaxy, and Edgar, what's up? Back from Utah. Good to see you. You joined at the perfect time. We're about to talk about your team.
Speaking of Salt Lake, we just mentioned them beat the
Yeah, we did.
Galaxy. Galaxy still without a win in 2025.
Struggling, man.
In MLS.
And
Because they didn't
MLS.
win CONCACAF
In
Champions League.
MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say at this point? Like we all said it was coming. We all said it was going to be tough. Henry, you look like you're primed for something. What you got?
I mean, when your team's built around Ricky Puig and Ricky Puig is out injured,
Yeah.
that's what happens. I mean, and it's not to say that he's the only player on this team, but he's the linchpin. He's the guy that makes this team go. And I'll say it again and again and again. Like, you take that piece out, and this team just isn't the same.
Right.
I mean,
but they did it last year for a period without him.
Yeah.
They did it for the 2 final games of the season.
And during the summer, he was out for a couple of games, like a few games.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't out for months.
Right. But we're now months almost in, and they still haven't won a game.
Exactly. That's the point. It's Ricky Puig is just so important to the way this team plays that him being gone is just a problem at this point. And sure, maybe this team can last if it were like 2 games, if it were 3 games, if it were a few games. Like last year, they were able to take it to MLS Cup. Why? Because, I mean, Ricky Puig got injured in what, the game before MLS Cup?
Yeah.
All you had to do was go into that last game, and you were the favorites going into that game anyways. You're playing at home. You had that. You had the morale. You were playing for Ricky. This was his MLS Cup. You were winning it for him. And now, I mean, some of those players have moved on. A lot of the important players have moved on, particularly in the midfield. You have, Gabriel Peck, who is kind of forced to be the guy early in the season because he's the only one of your DPs that was available. Joseph Painsel's back.
Right.
But even them, I would argue right now, are underperforming at this time. So it's a combination of things. And Edgar here has already commented, part of that. Galaxy lost Maya Yoshida and Gabriel Peck in the Tigres match. And yeah, it's a little bit of bad luck. Actually, a lot of bad luck with the injuries. Yeah. And some of it's also just some underperforming from some players that are expected to play key roles.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Do you think it would be quite as bad for the Galaxy as it is right now? Again, the injuries on top of the injuries that you had. Do you feel like in league play they'd have won at least one or 2 matches so far? I feel like the answer is yes for me. I mean, unfortunately, like you said, you fall into some poor injury luck, but I didn't foresee them still winless in MLS play at this point in time. Now, you have Tigres coming up. Fortunately for them, it's 0-0. And, you nick one on the road, which is going to be admittedly a tough ask. But if you nick one on the road, maybe you can kind of sit back and dare Tigres to beat you. Pray. Dare Tigres to beat you and say, hey, if we go up 1-0 on the road, even if they score on us, we're still in good shape. We still advance, but I don't know. I just don't see it. Guys. I mean, it's going to be a very tough ask for Galaxy to come in and maybe maybe score, at the very least score. I mean, if they score, Tigres have the firepower to, turn this into a blowout by the halftime whistle. I don't see them beating Tigres in the quarterfinal of that second leg. I really don't.
Sorry, Edgar, I don't either. But Edgar did mention what I was talking about. Last summer, they played a month without Pooch and won all those games. But, to Henry's point as well, there's tons of other factors involved. Tigres, that's tough. Like we talked about Vancouver and Pumas, and Vancouver's been playing. I'm sorry, Supporters Shield leaders, Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah,
I've been playing
some respect on their name, Tyler.
Yeah. But LA Galaxy haven't shown you at this point enough to think that they're going to go down and beat one of the perennial greats in Mexico.
Not even close. Yeah.
That's tough. I'm curious. I'm trying to look up what I don't do this often because it's not legal here. But
Uh-oh.
the
Whoa.
betting
Don't get us bumped. Don't get us shut down.
so
Scars and Spikes get swatted on stream.
Right.
so the home winning -240, a tie plus 320, and then so the Galaxy winning is a plus 550. So,
Go ahead and flush your money down the toilet.
yeah.
If you want to take that. Or it could pay off big time if it hits though.
I mean, if it hits,
That's a big if.
Yeah, huge if. Sorry, Galaxy fans. Edgar.
well, let's just
Sorry.
say, like, you put
No hate. No
Man,
hate.
you could rack up some money with that for
You
sure.
could.
I wouldn't take that bet. Sorry.
Right.
I wouldn't take that bet.
Would you bet your beard on it?
No. But I do want to see Galaxy get it back though, because they were
Yeah.
the most fun team to watch in MLS last year.
Yeah.
Admittedly, like they were fun to watch, and they were the rightful winners. Because sometimes you don't get that. They were the rightful winners of MLS Cup, but man, we knew it was going to be tough in the beginning of the season,
Right.
and they are on that struggle bus hard. Quick side note on that game before we jump to the matches to watch, but Diego Luna with the brace.
Yeah.
He's getting the Pochettino, eyeballs.
Deserves
and
it.
He goes and I know that was don't laugh at me, Henry.
I'm sorry. It's just
I said eyeballs.
The eyes
Yeah.
of Pochettino.
The eyes of
Pochettino eyeballs.
That sounds a little evil.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, he's showing well for himself. He's stepping into the fringes. I say fringes. The fringes of the national team,
Yeah.
and you're in a place now as well for the national team where things did not go well in your most
Right.
recent camp.
I'll
And the
say.
World Cup is gonna World Cup's gonna be here soon.
No
You're
one's
looking
spot is
for
safe.
a goal scorer.
And you got Gold Cup coming up. That's
Yeah.
going to be a real inflection point for the men's national team.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Lily could play himself into that picture, I mean, still a massive snub to not take him to the Olympics last year, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But at least if he can get himself into that picture of Pochettino, the men's national team, I think you could do a lot worse than him. So
100%.
we'll continue to watch that to see how that develops in the
Hey,
coming
guys.
months.
Hey guys,
Yes.
you know what? No one
What?
got fired today.
No one got fired.
No one got fired today.
The streak is over.
The streak is over. It's broken.
It
But
could happen
It was a
tomorrow.
pretty significant streak.
Could happen tomorrow.
it could happen tomorrow. They just decided not to do it today.
If
Right.
it were tomorrow, who would it be?
Let's see, probably after that 6-1.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess Ben Olsen bought himself some time with the win.
Yeah.
He bought himself at least a couple games.
Right.
I think Greg Vanny is relatively safe. I mean, Montreal
Yeah.
already fired their coach,
Yeah.
and they're still at the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I guess the closest one if not Troy Lesane, I guess still Caleb Border.
Yeah. One of those two. What do you
One of
think,
those two.
Tyler?
Yeah. If I had to pick one, still going to go with Caleb Porter, I
I
think.
feel like Lesane's making a strong, vigorous case for himself at this point, though.
Yeah. But again,
Well, his players are, not specifically.
that's a bigger dumpster fire than,
Right.
than just him, but certainly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the week's matches to watch presented by our friends at Sweetwater Brewing. Who wants to go first? Because only one person put it in the notes. But
Yeah, only one person did their homework.
Go ahead,
look at
Henry.
All right.
college kid.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it is the rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Final, Orlando City versus New York Red Bulls. Yeah, I mean, I'm just expecting it to be a game, like a very exciting game. It's this Orlando side that still feels really, really strongly about having just barely missed out on making MLS Cup. And it's two teams that also have looked pretty good to start the season. Orlando so far, 3 wins. 15 goals for. I believe they've scored the most goals of any team in MLS so far.
Well, San Jose has 15 as well.
San Jose has 15?
I
Okay,
don't
well,
San
when you win
Thank you,
6-1, I
Josef
guess.
Martinez.
They made up ground big time.
I guess that makes sense. But yeah, Orlando, one of the most scoring teams so far. New York Red Bulls, they're still a very solid team, a strong team on both ends. I can't wait to see kind of how that battle develops and if Orlando manages to get their revenge.
Yeah, and I was going to say that. I was going to pick that was going to be one of my picks, Orlando Red Bulls.
Should have written it down.
I know, I should have. I'm going to go with Rapids San Diego. This is an interesting match for Colorado because Colorado, of course, losing the other day. Maybe they're a little upset about that loss. Maybe they're going to want to bounce back from that loss and say, hey, we're still a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference. Guys, if you look at 1 through 7 right now in the West, 5 points separate Vancouver at the top and Colorado at 7. So yeah, I'll add this. Portland and Dallas also have 11 points. So that is a tight standing right now toward the top. Colorado, if they can get a win against what's proven to be a very good San Diego team, I think that'll be a big rallying point for them as they look to bounce back from a loss. I still think Zach Steffen is very informed and one of the top keepers in MLS. I still think Mihailovic is the talisman for that team. I still think they have a lot of good young talent on that team, good veteran talent as well that could help them push further up the table. But for me, it's Colorado versus San Diego. 9:30 kickoff. 9:30 Eastern time kickoff Saturday, guys.
Mine is, mine's LAFC and San Jose because San Jose, I think, just for the sheer entertainment factor coming off of Josef with the brace, 6 goals, playing with confidence. Atlanta fans know more than anybody what a confident Josef Martinez looks like. And if he can build off of what he just did, that was his. I don't think we mentioned it earlier. That was his first brace since 2018 when Atlanta won the cup.
Or hat trick.
Sorry, I don't know why I said brace. What am I talking about? Shortchanging
him.
Yeah, first hat trick since 2018 when they won the cup. But I mean, he just looked vintage Josef. This is not like, oh, you nicked a goal for, insert team that you stopped by here. He looked really good. If he can carry that over against LAFC, who are going to make it difficult, but they're coming off of Champions Cup as well against Miami. So how much rotation do they have? But LAFC, it is a rivalry.
Yeah.
It may not be the rivalry that it used to be, or no, I'm sorry, not used to be, but that other LA teams have had with them in the past. But like, there's still something to be said there. And I feel like LAFC has a lot that they want to prove because they don't want to take that proverbial step backwards because they've been the big dogs for so long. But if somebody knows anything about scoring against the big dogs, it's Josef Martinez. So I don't think that one's going to be fireworks. It'll be fun.
They call it the Cali Classical Junior. Since Galaxy San Jose is a Cali Classico. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just making it up.
That's an egg question. Or he'll just be like, screw it, it's LAFC.
Right. LAFC versus San Jose.
But Edgar did mention, LAFC versus the Smurfs.
Yeah.
The barometer of how much San Jose's improved, which is,
agreed.
You beat DC 6-1.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Big whip.
Right. Go beat LAFC.
Right.
We'll see what happens. So
yeah.
Fun
show.
Good times, yeah. Good times. I actually didn't think we were going to go this long, but this is a good conversation. Good chat.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy chatting with you guys as always.
Always
a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Patreon.
Hit it. Hit it.
Patreon.com/Garden. Patreon. What's what? What?
What?
Sorry. What? No, Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. $1.70 per month, $5 a month, $10 a month, 3 tiers. I mentioned it on our match review podcast where Atlanta United versus FC Dallas. Look at some enhancements to our Patreon tiers, added benefits, enhanced benefits. We'll mention those hopefully later on in the week. Stay tuned on socials. We'll announce it, but we're trying to work that out. Trying to get you guys more content. I know we've been saying it for a while. We definitely want to get you guys more content around not just Atlanta United, but Atlanta United 2, the national team. I mentioned Gold Cup coming up, the Gold Cup draw coming up this week. Atlanta United 2, of course, playing. We'll be covering them as well. We always pride ourselves on our Atlanta United 2 coverage. So plenty coming up on the Patreon. Stay tuned for more announcements on that. But for now, Scarves and Spikes, or patreon.com/scarvesandspikes.com, and get on the action. That supports our work here at Scarves and Spikes. And as always, thanks to our Patreon backers for your support.
Absolutely. And then, of course, scarvesandspikes.com for all the Atlanta United coverage and everything else that we have going on. Go get you some merch. We got lots of new stuff. We have because we're doing MLS Monday and we're doing so many things, we have the new Scarves and Spikes community logo patch that's kind of gone on a lot of different merch. So you'll go check that out as well. We super duper appreciate it.
Yes.
And then again, big thanks to our partners over at Sweetwater Brewing for everything they do for their amazing beer, especially the Rowdy Peach IPA.
Yes.
And then you'll go check out sweetwaterbrew.com for info on 420 Fest. Big music festival here in Atlanta, which is coming up in a couple weeks.
Indeed.
Man, that was beautiful. Now I feel like we got to say something stupid to bring it back up again. Like Kevin De Bruyne, more exciting than Lionel Messi.
I know.
Don't even start this again.
Somebody send me a Kevin De Bruyne Man City shirt. I'm going to wear it on the show next week.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up.
You don't know how much of a sacrifice that would be for me, all right? I'm an Arsenal fan.
Hold your nose.
Yeah, I can appreciate Kevin De Bruyne, all right? Come here and actually do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Every week.